There you go. So we're back together again for Screwtape. We're doing chapter 22, I think, tonight, and maybe 23 too. Exciting. Two very exciting chapters. 22 is actually like a pivot chapter in a certain way, and you'll get that in a few minutes. But I wanted to jump back just for a moment into 21. And that is this was on page 112 of my book. It's one, two. It's really just the second paragraph, the second full paragraph. And that is the discussion where he says, okay, a sense of injury demands a feeling that a legitimate claim has been denied. So he talks about how something is mine. If it's not mine and you take it, then it's no big deal. But if it's mine and you take it, then I have a legitimate claim to it. And I'm going to get it back, right? I feel injured. I feel put upon. I can, if it's a big thing, I can go to the police. I'm going to get you arrested because it's mine. It's not yours. If we both come upon a bucket in the woods at the same time and you get to it first, I'm going to be pretty disappointed that I didn't get the bucket because I don't know what's in it, but it may have been really cool, but it wasn't mine. I don't own it. And you're going to leave and I'm going to go, and it's going to be a story I tell everybody. Oh, I wish I could have gotten to it first. But here he's saying this is, so that defines our injury, that it's ours, belongs to us. So he's saying that what people do is they think of time, our time, my time is my time, that it belongs to me, that it's mine. Now, it's really this wonderful mirror image. So time is outside of us. We can't do anything with time, can't own time, can't manipulate time. Time is going by whether we like it or not. We're just standing here. There goes time, right on by us. But we own ourselves, we think. We own ourselves, and we are tapping into time. We are saying, I'm taking myself and I'm using this time to do what I want to do. And when somebody else comes and makes a demand on me, I cannot do that. I can't use that time for the thing I want to do. I have to use that time for this thing over here. And what Screwtape is doing here, he's pointing out this wonderful mistake that we get into, thinking, number one, that we own our bodies, that they're ours, and number two, that we own time, that it's ours, or it's ours to use while we're here, that it's not objective, it's completely subjective. And while you can make an argument for these things, from a philosophical argument as far as perception is concerned and what alternatives are and all that stuff, don't worry about that. It really comes down to not so much me visualizing time or owning time, but rather it comes down to me being jealous for myself, watching over myself. There's a line in the next, let's see, next third paragraph. He says, much of the modern resistance to chastity comes from men's belief that they own their bodies, those vast and perilous estates pulsing with the energy that made the worlds. What a fantastic line. That vast and perilous estate pulsing with the energy that made the worlds. So in Scripture, God always continues to say that we, all of us, all of everything belong to God, belong to Him. It started that in Genesis. In Genesis, God says, "This is all mine." I think I've shared with you before that the primary, the first, and the root pronouncement of God over creation is not love. It's ownership. And God starts Scripture with ownership and ends it with ownership in the book of Revelation. So it's dominion. God's dominion over everything is the primary, basic, bottom line proclamation of God, and everything is built on top of that. So it starts off with, this is mine, and I love, but this is mine. So we have to go back a way that we can really move ourselves along in our relationship with God, and our spiritual relationship, our spiritual awareness, is to practice the thought that this is not mine, that my body is not mine, that the time I've got is not mine, that God has a claim on everything, which means God has a purpose for everything, every moment, every movement, everything. So while I'm living in this thing and doing this stuff, thinking and contemplating that in this moment, am I doing my thing, thinking that this is what, I want to do this and that's it, or am I sensitive to what God wants me to do? Now, if I want to sit in a lazy boy chair and go to sleep, maybe that's what God wants me to do. So they match right up. And I lay down and I go, God wants me to lay down and go to sleep. And that is entirely possible. I mean, God's not a tyrant, right? But there are other times when we know that we're in this place that may be questionable with what we're doing, how we're doing, why, or what we're not doing. And it's in those times that this practice of thinking about God's ownership, God's dominion over time and self, it really comes in handy. It's a precursor to relinquishment, to letting go. And when we let go of things like that, it frees us to take on something else. And the other thing that we take on is companionship. If God owns this, then God's our companion on the way. And if we release our vision of ourselves as our own and time as mine to own, then I've got that facade out of the way, and the only thing left there is God. So there's a closer understanding of God when we are able to do that. So just a little note on 21. I don't think we hit that hard enough, so there you go. So let's jump into 22. This is so much fun. There's a lot of extra stuff.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, go right ahead.
A couple weeks ago, you did a sermon about how man and wife should serve each other, but not like I will make you a sandwich, but more in the out of love.
Yes.
And I'm kind of connecting the two right now,
Okay, good.
because the demons would happily exploit that to be like, go make me a sandwich.
Right.
Because if you perceive the relationship incorrectly, then they can exploit that and get you. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, and we're going to get to that in 22. So you're right on the mark. That's actually part of what 22 talks about.
Again, spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's serendipity. That's the way it's supposed to be. So you're right on the right mark. Okay, now I got an ad. Just have to have an ad start up, right? All right, hang on a minute. Let me get rid of this very pleasant ad. There we go. All right, so there we go. Okay, let me share this with you. And now, last time in Bible study, I shared the wrong screen and it was my screen. So you have to tell me what you see, okay? So ready? What do you see?
Your desktop. Oh wow, you have a lot of like little icons.
I do? You see my desktop?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I did last time. So that's not right. So there's on my they've changed the YouTube, the sharing, I mean the Zoom sharing port. Okay, and how about that one?
Here we go.
That's right.
YouTube screen.
Thank the Lord. Okay, here we go. Ready? Chapter 22.
Letter 22. My dear Wormwood, so your man is in love, and in the worst kind he could possibly have fallen into, and with a girl who does not even appear in the report you sent me. You may be interested to learn that the little misunderstanding with the secret police, which you tried to raise about some unguarded expressions in one of my letters, has been tided over. If you were reckoning on that to secure my good offices, you will find yourself mistaken. You shall pay for that, as well as for your other blunders. Meanwhile, I enclose a little booklet just issued on the new House of Correction for Incompetent Tempters. It is profusely illustrated, and you will not find a dull page in it. I have looked up this girl's dossier and am horrified at what I find. Not only a Christian, but such a Christian, a vile, sneaking, simpering, demure, monosyllabic, mouse-like, watery, insignificant, virginal bread and butter miss, the little brute. She makes me vomit. She stinks and scolds through the very pages of the dossier. It drives me mad the way the world has worsened. We'd have had her in the arena in the old days. That's what her sort is made for. Not that she'd do much good there, either. A two-faced little cheat. I know the sort who looks as if she'd faint at the sight of blood and then dies with a smile. A cheat every way, looks as if butter wouldn't melt in her mouth and yet has a satirical wit, the sort of creature who'd find me funny. Filthy, insipid little prude, and yet ready to fall into this booby's arms like any other breeding animal. Why doesn't the enemy blast her for it if he's so moonstruck by virginity instead of looking on there, grinning? He's a hedonist at heart. All those fasts and vigils and stakes and crosses are only a facade, or only like foam on the seashore. Out at sea, out in his sea, there is pleasure and more pleasure. He makes no secret of it. At his right hand are pleasures for evermore. I don't think he has the least inkling of that high and austere mystery to which we rise in the miserific vision. He's vulgar, Wormwood. He has a bourgeois mind. He has filled his world full of pleasures. There are things for humans to do all day long without his minding in the least. Sleeping, washing, eating, drinking, making love, playing, praying, working. Everything has to be twisted before it's any use to us. We fight under cruel disadvantages. Nothing is naturally on our side. Not that that excuses you. I'll settle with you presently. You've always hated me and been insolent when you dared. Then, of course, he gets to know this woman's family and whole circle. Could you not see that the very house she lives in is one he ought never to have entered? The whole place reeks of that deadly odor. The very gardener, though he has been there only 5 years, is beginning to acquire it. Even guests, after a weekend visit, carry some of the smell away with them. The dog and the cat are tainted with it, and a house full of the impenetrable mystery. We assert it is a matter of first principles that each member of the family must be in some way making capital out of the others, but we can't find how. They guard as jealously as the enemy himself the secret of what really lies behind this pretense of disinterested love. The whole house and garden are one vast absurdity. It bears a sickening resemblance to the description one human writer made of heaven. The regions where there is only life, and therefore all that is not music, is silence. Music and silence. How I detest them both. How thankful we should be that ever since our father entered hell, though longer ago than humans, reckoning in light years, could express, no square inch of infernal space and no moment of infernal time has been surrendered to either of those abominable forces, but all has been occupied by noise. Noise, the grand dynamism, the audible expression of all that is exultant, ruthless, and virile. Noise which alone defends us from silly qualms, despairing scruples, and impossible desires. We will make the whole universe a noise in the end. We have already made great strides in this direction as regards the earth. The melodies and silences of heaven will be shouted down in the end. But I admit we are not yet loud enough, nor anything like it. Research is in progress. Meanwhile, you, disgusting little...
Here the manuscript breaks off and is resumed in a different hand.
In the heat of composition, I find that I have inadvertently allowed myself to assume the form of a large centipede. I am accordingly dictating the rest to my secretary. Now that the transformation is complete, I recognize it as a periodical phenomenon. Some rumor of it has reached the humans, and a distorted account of it appears in the poet Milton, with the ridiculous addition that such changes of shape are a punishment imposed on us by the enemy. A more modern writer, someone with a name like Pshaw, has, however, grasped the truth. Transformation proceeds from within, and is a glorious manifestation of that life force which our father would worship if he worshipped anything but himself. In my present form, I feel even more anxious to see you, to unite you to myself in an indissoluble embrace. Signed, Toadpipe, for his abysmal sublimity, Under Secretary Screwtape, TEBS, etc.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Interesting book that was.
Yeah, I told you it was different, didn't I? Yeah. So exciting.
I think he could really use some therapy, if I'm being honest.
He's got some anger issues, that's for sure.
Yeah, there was a real buildup, wasn't there, of energy from the very beginning. Now, did you recognize where he started off the historic how that relates back. He says, you may be interested to learn that the little misunderstanding with the secret police that you tried to raise about some unguarded expressions in my letters has been tidied over. That was remember letter 14, where he wrote to Wormwood and let's see.
Not to let his letters out or something like that.
Yes, he says, I hope, my dear boy, you have not shown my letters to anyone. Not that it matters, of course. Anyone see the appearance of heresy into which I have fallen is purely accidental. By the way, I hope you understand, too, that some apparently uncomplimentary references to Slubgob were purely jocular. I really have the highest respect for him. And, of course, things that I said about you and shielding you from the authorities are not seriously meant. You can trust me to look after your interests, but keep everything under lock and key. So
I don't think he was being honest there.
well, this is going back. He did commit heresy. Remember in the beginning, he said in the third letter, he said, they really love the little bipeds and want them to best. So this was his, and he falls into heresy more. I mean, he actually did it in this letter. We'll find it right there in a minute. But it's back in 14, he was saying, don't tell that to anybody. It looks like that since he said it in 14, he actually made the mistake of making Wormwood aware of it. And so Wormwood took the very letters that he wanted this to keep quiet and went to the secret police to try to get Screwtape in trouble. So here he is, a little bit ticked off about how the secret police came to get him, and he got out from underneath it because he's Screwtape. I mean, he can get it done. And then he threatens Wormwood immediately, right? You're reckoning to secure my good offices and find yourself, and you shall pay for this as well as your other blunders. Meanwhile, and he closes a little booklet. I love a little booklet. I've always wished that Lewis could have made up that little booklet, you know, just to have it. House of Corrections for Incompetent Tempters. Perfect. Okay, so that's the jump back to 14 and before that. Okay, now he goes on to the girl. And I want you to hear in Screwtape's verbiage, him using words like horrified. What can horrify a demon? I mean, we think of being horrified by a demon, right? So this is him being horrified at what is good. The good is what's horrifying to him. So he is horrified when I find not only a Christian, but what a Christian. Fantastic list here. Vile, sneaking, simpering, demure, monosyllabic, mouse-like, watery, insignificant, virginal, bread and butter miss. And then he goes on with little root. Oh, it's so well done. Okay, so did you catch what he's talking about? Oh, there's 19 too. Yeah, okay. Letter 19. He said it again. I'm sorry, just read. So back in 19, when he told Wormwood in 14 not to share that stuff, in 19, he says it again. He really loves the human vermin and desires freedom for their continued existence. So a little more heresy, right? It's going to keep running through. All right, so back to what I said. Sorry. So what is he talking about when he's talking about this young lady? Because it seems to switch around. Did you see how it flip-flopped a little bit? First, he's talking about this. All this list seems to be complimentary from the perspective of his not wanting her to have these traits, right? That she's this person, demure, monosyllabic, mouse-like, watery, insignificant, virginal, bread and butter miss. All of these things that he's saying about her are the opposite of what he wants her to be. So she's demure. She is humble, right? She is serving, and all of these things he wants to turn around. He wants her to be overbearing. He wants her to be loud and noisy and obnoxious. He wants her to be overbearing, forceful, and in your face all the time, verbose in her language, overpowering people. So all of these things are the bad things that he wants the opposite. If we looked at it from this side, we want her to be so insignificant. We want her to be significant, but not in the way he wants her to be. His desire is to make her, like him, significant in that way. We would want her to understand that she is significant, but not from her own effort. She's significant because God loves her. Right? So his his description of her is putting something onto her. What we would want to do is draw something out of her to bring her to an awareness of herself and of God. He wants to put into her an overabundance of her appreciation of herself. What does he want her to do? Own herself, or at least think she does. See, now we're back at 21. See how they're connected. All right. She stinks and scalds through the very page of the dossier. Dossier drives me mad. The way the world is worse, and we'd have her in the arena in the old days. But then he says that it would be no fun. Putting her in the arena wouldn't be any good, because when the animal came to eat her, instead of being afraid, she would smile. She would be a good martyr. She would go down, no entertainment there for the bad guys. A cheat in every way. Looks like bread and butter would melt in her mouth. Yet she has a satirical wit. So she is present. She's smart. She is capable. The sort of creature who'd find me funny. Now here, I'm going to jump back for a minute to two places. Believe it or not, this is ancient history now for us, right? This is where we started. The very first day when we started Screwtape letters. This line right here, the sort of creature who'd find me funny. So in the very beginning of the book, Screwtape letters, Lewis quotes Martin Luther, the original Martin Luther, back in 1483 to 1546. And he writes, the best way to drive out the devil, if he will not yield to the text of Scripture, is to jeer and flout him, for he cannot bear to be scorned. Right? And then he quotes Thomas More, and he's 1478 to 1535. The devil, the proud spirit, cannot endure to be mocked. Right? Later on, he's going to talk, he uses the line again in a different way about Wormwood. And if Wormwood messes up, it's because he's caused the human to laugh at him. So this is what drives the devils crazy, when human beings recognize that they really don't have any power, that their power is assumed on our part, and when we laugh at them because it's a waste of time for them if we know who we belong to. If I know who I belong to, who I am in relationship to God, and the devil, this demon, comes to get me, and I just laugh because he's telling me he owns me, which is just a joke. And laughing at him, he can't stand. So according to Luther and many other earlier church fathers said the same thing. That it's this knowledge of the devil is the best way to get rid of the devil, because if we know who he is, he won't make any. It won't be important to us because he doesn't own us, doesn't have that power over us. Filthy, insipid prude, yet ready to fall in the booby's arms like any other breeding animal. Why does the enemy blast her for it if he's so moonstruck with virginity? So what is he talking about here? It seems like all this stuff is good from our perspective, but then he says, why doesn't the enemy blast her for it? Well,
That's what he considered to be.
did he make a mistake? Is it, what is it? It really has to do with this, the association of this last line where he says, filthy, insipid little prude, yet ready to fall into the booby's arm like any other breeding animal. So what he's saying here is that even though she is this woman with Christian character and grit and force of will, God bless you.
Sorry.
That Screwtape knows that she sins, that she's a sinner. And perhaps when she is in her fantasy moments, thinking about how her life is going to turn out, she thinks about being with this man, his patient. So he says, why doesn't the enemy blast her? Because she's a sinner. She's sinning. So why doesn't he just take her out at the knees? Why wait? Why not just have it done?
Is it because the demons can't see us for more than one thing?
Sure.
They see one thing, only one thing, and we can't be anything else. if we're bad, we must be completely bad and corruptible, and they've got us. If we're good, how can we be good but still sin?
Yeah,
Why aren't we being smited right now?
sure. Well,
So
this is actually a question that comes up over and over in classic literature, and it basically says, we've all read this or seen it in movies. If the hero or the heroine in the movie, if she makes this mistake, she makes a bad choice, and she gets, she goes away and she leaves them to die and whatever it might be, and if that's where it ends, it's all over. It's a bad ending. You can't end it there. She's got to have an epiphany and come to herself, and then she comes back at that last moment and saves everybody, right? So what Screwtape wants her to do is go into that moment where she abandons everyone and then get killed right there at the height of the mistake, at the height of the betrayal, at the height of the bad decision, where from that bad decision, all of this other stuff bad is going to happen because of her, or presumably because of her. So he says, why doesn't God just, look what she did. She left these people and they're all going to die, and she went away. Why doesn't God just smack her right there because she's abandoned them? What a sin, what a terrible person she is. I don't understand why God just doesn't take her out. But God doesn't, because God is giving her the opportunity to have the epiphany, to come back and save the day and have a happy ending story. So this is what this shows, that Screwtape's understanding, as Autumn was saying, his understanding and his vision is short. It's myopic. He only remember he said, we see them only as the plate. We only see them as primarily as food. We don't see them in any other way. And we just look at their lives and channel their lives to that end. That's it. We don't care about anything else. So he cannot understand what God is doing. In fact, that's the whole point. Remember earlier on, he said, that line where he talked about, they said, we don't know what's going on in heaven. And they said, the response was, if you did, then you'd be here. And so he took it as there's a secret in heaven. And if they figure out the secret, they'll be able to conquer heaven. When really what was happening was they were saying, if you realize the truth about heaven, which is love and grace and mercy and companionship, then you would be here, because you would be accepting the love and the grace and the companionship. So Screwtape's taking it exactly the wrong way. He just cannot see the reality of God's presence, God's gift of renewed forgiveness. All right.
So when he hears humans, like, he's got to hear humans say stuff like that. Like, does he think that humans are just lying, or? Yeah.
I think he's just, they hear it, but they don't listen.
You can hear something all you want, but you got to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, and he says it in the end here. We're going to get to in a minute where he said they must be taking advantage of each other somehow, but we just can't figure out how. Everything that Screwtape is looking at the people, he's looking at it from this lens of corruption, of destruction. All right, you've done this, we've done this, or maybe you haven't done this, but if you haven't, then you're in the vast minority. At some point in life, we have an encounter with somebody, maybe even somebody that we love, maybe, and hopefully it's only for a very short amount of time, where we think they're up to something. Maybe it's even good. Maybe it's somebody we think they're planning a surprise party for us, and we hate them and we want to find out. And so everything that person does from that point on, we're suspicious. Our little antenna are up. When they say they got to go in the other room, we wonder what they're doing. When they say they get a phone call and they say, oh, I'll be right back, and take this call, they leave the room, you're thinking, who are they talking to? So at that point, everything that you see, everything that they do is through this myopic vision of suspicion. And that's all we can see. Everything they do. That's like Screwtape. Everything is through this little tiny hole of defining us and defining God in a way that's completely wrong. And part of what Screwtape Letters is about showing us that we do the same thing to ourselves. We see ourselves through a little tiny myopic vision. And by using Screwtape as an example, maybe we can open that up. Not owning ourselves, by the way, is one of the big pieces to that. Okay. He said, he's a hedonist at heart. All those fasts and vigils, stakes and crosses are all a facade. We're only like foam on the seashore, out at sea, out in his sea. There is pleasure and more pleasure. He makes no secret of it. His right hand are pleasures evermore. That's Psalms 16 verse 11, where he talks about pleasures and pleasures evermore. I don't think he has an inkling of the high and austere mystery which we rise to. I love this word, the miserific vision. Miserific is Lewis's word. He made that word up. It doesn't exist anywhere else. So where we live, we rise to a divine vision, to the beatific vision, which is the beatific vision, the vision of God. They are sinking to the miserific vision. This word, these are two Latin words. It's miser and fic, and it literally means cause of misery. So they are sinking to the cause of misery vision. How can we cause more misery? What is the manner of angling ourselves or using ourselves to cause more vision? Miserific. So he goes on here about pleasures. He's exactly right. God has designed us with the idea of being pleased. Look back at Eden. What did God do in Eden? He gave everything was good. God made everything was good. Everything. Adam and Eve were good. They were happy. There was nothing. Nobody's eating anybody else. Everything's tasting good. It's all beautiful. There's no thunderstorms and nasty things going on. It's all pleasurable because all of the pleasures fit into a category. A pleasure of eating is a pleasure that is of the flavor. The pleasure of eating is not eating until we're falling over, where you just can't eat anymore. We're stuffed. The pleasure of having a little glass of sherry or a glass of wine is enjoying the taste of the wine, the smell of the wine. It's not drinking the bottle until we're passed out on the floor. That is the intention of Screwtape. He's taking, and he says it right here. He says, this is what he said. His minding and the sleeping, washing, eating, drinking, making love, playing, praying, everything has to be twisted before it is of use to us. So all of the pleasures are good. God created all the pleasures. Devils can't create any pleasures. That's a virtue. They can't create any virtue. All the pleasures are good. The problem is, and what Screwtape is doing, is taking a pleasure into excess, moving it from its natural state of being into a gluttonous state of being, into a state of being that it's not designed for, right? So it moves everything to a place where this in its normal sense would not hurt us, but if you move it all the way over here, suddenly it is causing us harm. And that is the intention of Screwtape. But it's also what we do, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We get into this place, this spiral, where we just take something good and wreck it. I was talking to somebody 2 days ago who discovered his kids' candy stash after Christmas. And he realized about 3 weeks ago that his kids forgot it. They didn't even know it was there anymore. And so he's not a big candy guy, and he decided, I'm just going to enjoy this candy for the rest of the year. Well, he ate it all in like a week. And he said it was licorice and gummy bears, and then all kinds of different forms of chocolate. And he ate all the gummy bears at once, and the licorice, and then he ate all of the creams and chocolates again later on. And he said, I want to tell you, it was like a shoebox of each. Like, we're not talking little, we're talking a lot. And he said, I have to say that when I got done, I don't think I want to eat licorice or gummy bears ever again. He said, literally, in fact, he even said, I got down to the bottom of the box, bottom of the bag, and I didn't eat the last 5. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Right? So it took something really good, a little pleasure. He could have spaced it out for the year, but he was driven to be gluttonous, and it wrecked him. Not to mention what it must have done to his health to eat, 12 pounds of candy in a week and a half or 2 weeks.
That hurts thinking about it.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I might feel personally called out by that one.
Oh. Oh yeah. Well, it's what we do. It's exactly what we do. So here down near the bottom of this line, everything has to be twisted before it is of use to us. Finds a root in an incredible church father, later church father called Saint Maximus the Confessor, and he wrote in a block of spiritual reflection, spiritual treatises that were written by a whole different groups of these spiritual fathers, and were never translated into English. We've never had them in English. They were just translated last year, first time ever. So they're called the Philokalia, and it's this big group of texts. So this is from Saint Maximus from the Philokalia. He says, "Nothing created by God is evil. Not food, but gluttony, not sex, but fornication, not material, but avarice, which is greed, it's possession, only misuse, not the things as they are meant to be used." So that's exactly what Screwtape is saying here. Taking everything, the food is not a bad thing. It's the way we take the food that's the bad thing. Everything moves into this bad space. Okay, let's keep going. And then he lapses again. He's going to get Wormwood. "You've always hated me and been insolent when you dared." Then, of course, he gets to know the family, the whole circle. The deadly odor. I love that. The image of the deadly odor is that when you walk into a place where something smells, immediately you smell it, but you don't know where it's coming from. Especially if it's your house. You come home and something stinks. You're like, what is that? I don't know where that's coming from. Kind of a scary thing if you've been on vacation or away for a couple days and you come back and there's something stinking in your house. So it's a permeating. It's an idea of this, like a fog permeating everything. Can't pinpoint it. The house is full of the impenetrable mystery. That is, for him, that's the presence of God. The impenetrable mystery is God there, and when God is there, they can't get in. And he'll talk about that later in the letters. When God is close by, Satan has absolutely no inroads. The person's completely protected from. Remember, gosh, did we do that one already? I can't remember if we did that. Let me see how much. Oh, I'll have to leave it. I won't say anything about it because it may have been a letter we're coming up on. Yeah, this is he states this more than once, that when God is present, everything else is powerless. So now think about a witness of the saints that say that when they're in close contact with God, they're in a state of ecstasy. And there's nothing else there. There's just God. They go into they don't say trance. That's an Eastern word that's being applied to the West, so it has negative connotations. But they go into it's the beatific vision. That's exactly what it is. That they feel that they are spiritually in the presence of God, and everything else is just gone. It's just God. That's it. And then they come out of it and they write it down, make a treatise, right? That's where treatises come from. Okay, so then this wonderful thing about music. We are certain, no matter of first principles, that each member of the family in some way is making capital out of the others, but we cannot find out how. They guard jealously the enemy himself and the secret of what really lies behind the pretense of disinterested love. The whole house and garden is one vast obscenity. It bears a sickening resemblance to the scripture. One human writer said, "In heaven, regions where there is only life, and therefore, and all that is not music is silence." So then he goes into music and silence. How I detest them both. And what does he want? Noise.
Yeah.
Cacophony?
What?
Cacophony?
Yeah, cacophony. He goes to the grand dynamism, the audible expression that all is exultant, ruthless, and virile. It's just what is it about noise? What is the idea for Screwtape that he's giving us of noise? What is the characteristic of noise in your life, in our life? How would you characterize noise?
It kind
Distraction.
of reminds me of
Very distracting. Yeah.
Get distracted. Like you had on your thing earlier, the whole thing about disregard everything I told you. Just have them download TikTok and don't take care of it.
Right.
But stuff like that, all kinds of stuff in the world, just it's all around you all the time.
Yep. Yep.
It also
chaos.
makes me think of the saying like, "He who talks the loudest gains the most traction. The squeaky wheel gets the grease."
Yeah, because people are forced to listen.
Mhm.
Forced to listen. So he's saying that the cacophony, that's a great word for it. You can't concentrate. I can't get any work done in here. Right? I'm trying to get some work done. I can't do it because it's too noisy. I gotta go to the other room. I can't listen. There's something else happening over here and it keeps grabbing my attention. So he's saying that's hell. Hell does not afford the individual a chance to think, to be quiet, to take a moment of reflection and to take an inventory of what I'm doing, why I'm doing, how I got here, how can I get out of here. That all takes place in the quiet moment or in the musical moment. You know, if you listen to music, if you're a music person, you know that music moves us. That if you have the right music on, it can take you to amazing places. I have 3 or 4 songs that I regularly hear on the radio that will just, boy, they transport me right back to when I was, I think, 13, 14 years old. And I'm sitting right there in my friend's basement, unfinished basement, in this wing chair in the middle of an unfinished basement, and where we used to play and like that. So that just transports us, the beauty and the wonder, the simplicity and the complexity of music. He says that that is the worst thing we can allow them to do. Do not let them reflect. Do not let them be quiet. Do not let them take this point of soothing reality to gather them, to bring them back to what's important, what really means something. Noise, disruption. As Alan said, you know, I would throw in there cell phones.
Oh yeah,
Cell phones, computers. But so we even do it to ourselves.
technology in general.
Yeah. I should come home and get a tea and go in the back room and sit down and be quiet and drink my tea.
Yes, we have.
I'm distracted by your cat. I just want to pet your cat.
I know, I've been watching it too.
Yeah, that's
So cute.
Up and stretched and went back to slimmed it back down.
have a nice time back there.
She's my little ball.
Well, now she's over.
There you go.
You bothering me for? But leave me alone.
She loves to be around me, I have to say. She sleeps on me every night. I sleep with a pillow right here that I started sleeping with for her, because she crawls up on me and then she lays down on the pillow rather than laying down on my throat like she's doing.
Nice.
Good plan.
And she'll yell at me at like 9:30. She starts yelling all over the house and follows me around because it's time to go to bed.
I'm not gonna lie, until you guys brought up there's a cat there, I had no idea because I had you guys where it's like the 4 squares and
Yeah.
cuts off
Pretty
Kitty
much, yeah.
entirely.
Well, I'm so used to her moving around, I don't even see her. It's out of the corner of my eye. All right, so this takes us, this dynamism, this loudness takes us as it builds to this crescendo of Screwtape getting madder and madder and louder and louder and louder and louder. He's getting louder and louder and louder. Suddenly, this says the manuscript breaks off and is resumed in a different hand. And we have this very weird continuation where he says, in the heart of composition, I find I have inadvertently allowed myself to assume the form of a large centipede. What is that?
Did we all picture that when he was reading it?
Yes,
We see a centipede slithering around.
I've seen a
His
couple of
legs.
artists.
100 legs, yeah.
I'll have to get that for you. I have it somewhere. So what is happening here? He quotes two places where this comes up. He says, I recognize it as a periodical phenomenon. Some rumor it has reached the humans, and a distorted account appears in the poet Milton, with the ridiculous addition that some changes in shape are a punishment imposed on us by the enemy. So I will tell you, this is book 10, line 505 through 515 of Paradise Lost. And I will not torture you by reading it, because if you read Milton, and this is the original, I should have gone through and found a modern version, but this is the Old English version, and it's extremely different. But basically what happens is Satan is in hell, which is a good place. It's his place. And he is talking to all of the angels down there. And he says, I'll just read you a little bit. You have an account of my I'm translating. You have an account of my performance. What remains from you, you gods? Enter into full bliss with him. Okay. So having said this, while he stood expecting their universal shout and high applause to fill his ears, when he hears, contrary on all sides from innumerable mouths and tongues, a dismal universal hiss, the sound of public scorn, he wondered, but did not long have any leisure, wondering at himself now more, what is this? His eyes drawn, he felt a sharp tug. His arms clung to his ribs, his legs entwined each other, till supplanted, down he fell, a monstrous serpent on his belly prone, reluctant but in vain, to a greater power ruled him with punishment in the shape of his sin. So what Milton is saying is that the beautiful angel Lucifer goes to hell, a beautiful place, and he has all of his angels about him, and he is showing them how he's in charge. He is the new God, and they're all to worship him. And right in the middle of all this joy, God punishes Satan by turning him into the serpent that he was in the garden. So he becomes this snake, not completely, if you go on reading it, he's got little appendages, snake-like creature that is not beautiful in any way. And he sees himself as not beautiful in any way. He actually is horrified by his own appearance. Okay, so that's why he says here, a distorted account of it appears in Milton. And then he goes on to say, more modern writers, someone like, and he puts down a P, Pshaw. He does that because Lewis couldn't write the word Shaw in the book. It was infringement. So he put a P in front of it. But who he's talking about here is George Bernard Shaw. You may have heard of him a little bit. He was a critic, a playwright, poet, polemicist, and a political activist. He wrote the book Man and Superman, which you probably read in high school. And he talks about, from here, he says, the transformation proceeds from within. It is a glorious manifestation of that life force, which our Father would worship if he worshipped anything but himself. So Bernard Shaw is writing in A Man and Superman about the life force. And he says that it is universal and universal impulse whose purpose is to attain a higher state of consciousness. It creates forms of new life and purpose to suit my desire, my want. And it is a trial and error process. The life force, I will use the life force to manifest my own reality, which may turn out to be stinky, and I don't want it. And so I'll do it again and do a better one. So he's saying that this is what's happening. He has used the life force to manifest himself into this centipede, which is a good thing, because it's what the life force does. But it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. He can't write. I mean, it's just he's incapable. It has another meaning too, and that is that the paradox of it is the sin, his own sin, is what is changing him into this thing. In Milton, Lucifer's own sin, God manifested his sin in him, and the manifestation of his sin by God was the serpent. For Screwtape, the manifestation of his sin is the centipede. The only difference between the two, according to Screwtape, is that God did this to Satan, which is a lie, according to him. It's now me doing it to me, which is not bad, but good, according to Shaw. But for us, what difference does all this make? Sounds like stupid. The difference it makes for us is it says we become our sin. We manifest our sin in us outwardly. So think about if you haven't experienced this, I'm sorry, it's terrible. I have. If you have really known somebody who's been duplicitous and lies to you and sneaks around, then eventually that's all they do. They are living out that sneaking, living out that lying, living out that whole double life thing. So they actually become the sin that they are committing, and manifest themselves as that bad person that they had been portraying inside. That's what Lewis is saying. If we're not really careful, the thing that draws us into sin, the excess that becomes our sin, will become us. We will begin to live our life outward through that sin, which will be a corruption of everything that we're intended to be. The light, the life, the reflection of Christ. Always remember as we read this is books about us. It's not just using Screwtape. All right, what time is it? Oh my gosh. I don't think we can go 23. I'm so sorry. 22 is so full. I hope that
This would need a lot of time to go through.
yeah. There is between 21 and 22, this idea about time and ownership, and then everything that he's doing here is such a huge I've said in the beginning, it's a pivotal letter for what it means, for what the fodder it means to us.
Definitely changed the tone of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd rather do a chapter a week if it means we can actually cover it all.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, like I say, we're halfway. Right? We're more than halfway through. So
I'm not sure you answered Auden's question earlier, so maybe you can circle back to that.
Oh, what was it? Tell me again.
Well, Auden,
I don't remember.
something about marriage, and I can't remember.
Oh,
what you
serving each other, how they can exploit the person. So instead of serving out of love, it's your perception of it being like, make me a sandwich, and they can exploit that and drag you to hell, I think was the question. But that was not a question, that was a statement. So help me.
No, forgive me. I didn't hear it as a question. So I thought you were making a statement.
I don't know anymore.
I guess I could answer without knowing it was a statement or a question by saying that in all ways, in all circumstances, you're correct. Because what he's saying is that everything that you do, everything that we offer to each other can be exploited by the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Can be exploited by the world, or we can exploit somebody else's service to us.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody I was just visiting a family a while ago where the grandmother is exploiting the entire family, and it didn't used to be that way. It's kind of, the family is very bewildered by it, because the mother, but now the grandmother, was always very much like, she got it done, she was in charge, she was the matriarch. And one day she sat down with a crick. She said it herself. "I got a crick in my back." Sat down with a crick in her back, and everybody said, "Oh, Granny," her granddaughter calls her Granny. "Granny, let me get you something." And that was the beginning.
Oh boy.
Whenever she wants something, she has a crick on her back, or she has a pain in her leg, and she
Can you
sits
get this
down.
from me? This
Yeah.
hurts. I can't do this. Can you help me?
Yep. And and the family who she lives with them, lived with it for, I guess months. And now they're becoming resentful and angry. They don't see it anymore as them helping her. They see it as her taking advantage of them, which is horrible. Horrible, because her reputation, her relationship with the family was beautiful from what they've told me. You know, picturesque, of this beautiful, loving woman who raised this beautiful daughter and grandchildren and has been this wonderful, powerful, affirming force in their life. Suddenly, out of just like nowhere, has become kind of a user. And it's driving the family crazy. So yes, in every circumstance, we are capable in weird ways. I mean, how she got sucked into that, such a diametric opposition to what she was really like, in little ways or in big ways, to exploit one another and take the gifts that were given in service or whatever, and then use them in ways that we're not supposed to. But that, again, is right back here in 22, right? Because that's everything in excess. Anything good that we take in excess is bad. So all these people did good things for her, but she's demanding it in excess, and now it's bad. It happens a lot in marriage. It happens a lot. And we don't even know it. We don't even recognize it when it's happening. Either you're doing it or they're doing it, she's doing it, he's doing it. We've got to be on guard for it all the time. All the time. Yeah. I hope that
They're really good at parents. Aging parents are really good at it too.
It
My
sounds
mom
like
There's a
from my
lot.
very, sorry, from my very limited grandchild perspective, it sounds like I read a lot of parenting forums because it's very interesting, and I know all of you have kids, but it sounds like she has an unmet need. I think she's probably, you said that she's like, her whole life she was like, let's go do this. She feels like she's, the one who, got it done, and now she's kind of owed this, but she's reaching out for it in the wrong way, and
Yes.
it's destroying her relationship with her family. And
that is exactly it. If she wanted to sit back and say, you know what, guys, I have taken care of all of you for 84 years. And I would like to sit back and relax now. This is my moment to just take it easy. And if I want to go for a walk, I'll go for a walk. And if you can help me just relax, that would be great. That'd be it. Everybody would be so appreciative and say anything you want, Granny. I'll just do it. But that's just being honest. The problem is that she's not being honest. She's not trusting her family by telling them this. She's assuming this place of, I just want to take it easy now, but instead of telling her family, because she feels guilty. Remember, she's a powerhouse. She's never said. Her family kept saying, what did he say? Metaphorically, I've never seen her sit down. And she's always on the move and has been her entire life helping people, getting things for people. And suddenly she never gets up. Which neither one of those are true, but he's using that as an absolute symbol. But I think she's guilty. I think she feels guilty that she's not serving people anymore. And so instead of being honest about it and saying, I just want to relax, it has to be a crick in her back that's making her sit down. Oh, couldn't you all get me everything all day long? Because she wants to take it easy. So it is this thing in excess, right? Everything in excess turns bad. Yeah. All right, this was great. Time to go, right on the spot. Thank you guys for your good humor. Very powerful 20-second letter from Screwtape into 23. It's not going to take as long to go through 23. It's a continuation. We've already got all that in the pipe, but it's a really good letter, just like this one. It continues on. The same energy from Screwtape keeps going, I think, for the rest of the book. All right.
Are you going to continue this through Lent, or?
You read my mind.
Okay,
I
yeah.
don't know. I was thinking about it about 2 weeks ago. I put together what I thought was going to be the Lenten program, but I think I'm going to change it now, and I'm thinking about what that's going to be. So if you have suggestions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Is next week's Ash Wednesday when you have having a service, or we'll be together?
Ash Wednesday in the morning service and in the evening service. Yeah,
We won't be having this next week.
that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Not next week. Sorry.
No,
my week is
then we'll be
ruined.
then we'll be in Lent too, so we probably won't do this during Lent.
Yes,
Like-
yes, that's a good point. Unless we continue it, but I don't know, I don't think we can because it's gonna be, everybody else will be jumping in. When
Yeah.
I did Screwtape before, remember I picked letters from all through the book
Hmm.
that stood alone for a purpose.
Hmm.
So that wouldn't be what we're doing during Lent. So we may have to take.
But we will come back to this eventually, right?
Oh yeah, we have to.
I want to
finish.
know how it ends. Like normally I read ahead, but it's just too much fun.
Yeah,
Write down chapter 23, so we'll know where we'll start.
yes, put a big thing in there. I'll come
You do
back.
the YouTube thing tomorrow, make sure you put book 22 or something. That way we all know
Yes,
where that reference.
I will. I will put it up and put it in there next week. The announcement that we're not doing that for
Oh, I hate it for a bit.
down there as well.
Well, Easter's early this year, right? The 31st?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we'll start back up the first week of April and we should be able to get done before summer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this
certainly
is like
will.
the season finale, and now I just have to wait for the next season.
It's all good.
Well, by then, and then we'll have some more of The Chosen to watch, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but
Can't wait for that too.
Yeah, I think The Chosen is in theaters now or something.
Is it?
Yeah.
Some of the theaters, I think.
I thought it was they had started the pre-release for the small theaters that
Yeah.
they had started with. Yeah.
Autumn, while you have time, catch up to us on The Chosen. You can watch it free anywhere, and
Mhm.
we have YouTube videos if you want to watch
Okay.
those too. But
most
we
people have the Chosen in it because he was not allowed to embed the YouTube.
yeah.
That's right.
It's just us talking about it.
Yep.
It's
If
what-
you have Netflix, I think you can get it, or
But you can actually go to
videos for not, on YouTube.
I just go to thechosen.com. I think it is. It's just you can look it up, and it's just on the computer. I think I watched the first season on Netflix, but at the time they only had one season.
Yeah, the way we did this program on, if you wanted to do it, is you start this Wednesday night program, let's say with the first episode of The Chosen, and then I'll say in the middle of it, I'll say, okay, we're gonna stop now and go watch the episode. So go watch the episode, hit pause, and come right back. So then you go hit pause, you go watch the episode, and you come back, and when you unpause it, we start right up talking about what we just saw.
Mhm.
So it's up to you to go watch the episode. You hit pause though. Don't keep it running. Then go watch the program, then come back.
I do like to read ahead.
Yes. All right. This was great, guys. I've got
Thank
this
you.
this is for next week.
Thank
I'll put some
you.
things up. All right.
Bye.
Have a wonderful night. God bless you all.
Bye.
Sleep well.
All right. Bye-bye, y'all.
Everybody.
Bye.
My mom.